What's up, everyone? Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Game Cast. I am one of your hosts, Kenny, and with me is Tess,
Hey, everybody.
and we are on episode 75, our last episode of the year. That's
Goodbye,
interesting.
2021.
Yes, I am looking forward to next year. Apparently, so is Hermione. Looking forward to
Hermione
next year.
is gung ho. She is so ready to bring in, like, she's going guns blazing. And if anybody tries to tell her different, she's going to bark. Right, Hermione? No,
Uh,
she
oh, now you
actually
don't want to
just,
bark.
nope. Mm-mm,
So I
no.
will not bark on command. That's not how we do this.
She really has her own, yeah,
Her
she
own
sucks.
mode.
Yeah.
So yeah, last podcast of the year. So we figured it would be cool to just kind of talk about some of the things that we've been watching, playing, and all that good stuff, as well as what we look forward to, in the next year. I'm not going to be giving the best of the best whatever list. I feel like everyone's doing that now, where it's like, the 2021 wrap up where you talk about the best music, movies, games, and all that other stuff because everyone's doing it and there's plenty of lists and none of you care anyways. I mean, people like lists, but you got your list and you don't really care. You don't. You don't really
Well,
care.
clearly, Hermione cares. She totally agrees with me after I yelled arcane. So
Oh, where?
Hermione, we know that you liked Arcane too. We that's really our thing.
Yes,
We just
Arcane was fire. If you didn't see our last episode, Powder Keg, definitely go check that out. It was good. It was very good, and we had some comments. Shout out to the people, to the viewers on the YouTube page. They had some stuff to say, and they liked our conversation. They agreed with a lot of what we had to say. So
mm-hmm.
that's what's up. Feel free to comment as long as you're not a dick. We just want to put
that
that out there.
yeah.
You can disagree, you can critique even, but there's a line. There's a line. But yeah, we would like to know, your thoughts. As far as what I've been doing, I've been having a decent time being on break these 2 weeks, and which is different because I had a vacation kinda before, but I was still doing stuff because you have to adult, right? And so it wasn't really a break, but this Christmas season has been pretty decent with just relaxing, resting
Uh-huh.
for once,
That's good.
and playing video games. I
Playing a lot of video games.
Yes, I am knocking off some games off my backlist. Of course, I bought more games because there's Steam sales and Christmas holiday sales and all that good stuff. So I did buy more, but I've been knocking a bunch of games down. One of the games I played not too long ago, I actually beat not too long ago, is Watch Dogs Legion from Ubisoft.
Mm-hmm.
And before I go into this, yes, I am happy or pleased with the game. That doesn't mean I'm pleased with everything that goes on at Ubisoft. I just want to say that because I think people kind of get things misconstrued when you, like us talking about Arcane or whatever, and we all know, Riot Games has issues. We spoke about that on previous podcasts. We're not, skirting under those things, but we still want to talk about Arcane in and of itself. Uh, Given the fact that it deals with a whole nother company, that actually made the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to have that little asterisk there for the people who are listening. But anywho, I enjoyed Watch Dogs, but not for the reasons you would think. Watch Dogs is an open world game, and Ubisoft is notorious for bloat. And by that, I mean just having an open world that just lasts way too long. I am never playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I'm not. Stop trying to sell it to me, Ubisoft. I see you with the sales. You keep bundling it with stuff. I saw Watch Dogs was on, and it was bundled with Valhalla, and I was like, I'm not playing this. And I
Mm-hmm.
looked for the game by itself just to buy it by itself because
Mm-hmm.
no, I'm not doing that. No, it's too many hours just to beat the main story. So anywho, the reason why I like Watch Dogs because Watch Dogs is very repetitive. It's very. I feel like it's a futuristic city of London that's kind of boring.
Mm.
The color schemes. I think at night it lights up and like the color palette changes in an interesting way. But during the daytime, a lot of it is gray. It's just a lot of gray, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just not. And I don't know. I've never been to London, so I don't know if that's how it looks.
Mm-hmm.
But you kind of want
Yes,
your.
as it's the
I
city of fog.
Right. I think you kind of want your game to be. You want less GTA 4 and more GTA 5, if you know what I mean. If you play GTA
Oh.
4, it's just gray forever. And so there's a lot of things that from the environment or just how you play that might turn people off. It's very much a group of hackers that are trying to, uh, well, one, clear their name because they were
Mhm.
accused of some terrible things, but then also to bring down these mega corporations and military police who are overstepping their bounds. There's everything from like human trafficking and like bodies, like body parts and whatnot, to just harassment on the streets. There's a lot of this is one of the Ubisoft games that leans in onto the political side of things, which is good. Which is good. It's actually a decent story, but in terms of gameplay, if you're used to GTA and all those other games, you might not enjoy it as much. I say all that to say I still enjoyed Watch Dogs because it it was respectful of my time. You can actually play through the whole main campaign without doing any side stuff. I think there's a part where they do a tutorial and they kind of teach you how to go here and there and how to interact, how to recruit people because your team can be built of any of the NPCs. You can actually go up
Mhm.
to someone and be like, "Hey, you want to join DedSec?" And they're like, "Yeah, I'll join." And you do a mission to kind of get them onto your team. And each NPC has their own abilities and special skills and stuff like that. So it's really cool in that aspect. But what it beyond that, you can just play through the main story. I beat it in under I say under 15 hours, maybe 16 hours, which for an open world game is very, very short. Like,
Yeah.
very short. And I played it like throughout this week, earlier this week, and I beat it. And it was just that alone was like, wow, this is really great. And I had a good time with it, moment to moment here and there. But the fact that I could just go through, because whenever I start a long game or a game I think is going to be long, I look up the chapter names and so I can kind of gauge where I am as I'm playing.
Mhm.
If I'm playing and I'm kind of getting bored of it, but I'm like one chapter away from finishing it, I'll go ahead and finish it. But if I'm like
Mhm.
30 chapters away, nah, I'm done. Um, but in this case, I looked at the chapters. I'm like, wow, I'm like right in the middle of the game, and it's only been like 5 hours, and I'm like, this is really good. Mind you, there is more things to do. You can extend your playtime way above 30 hours. But if you just want to see the sights and stick to the story for the most part, you can, and it
Mhm.
works very well. So shout out Ubisoft for that. I actually got it on the Epic Game Store is doing a big sale where
Nice.
they'll have a sale on the game, but then on top of that, if the so like let's say the game is like normally $60, and the sale drops it down to 20 something, they'll also throw an extra $10 coupon on top of it as long as that price is over 14.99. So with the sale that was already on there, it dropped it to like I don't know 17 something, and then I got the $10
Mhm.
coupon on it, so I bought it for $7 for the most part. And
Mm.
so very dope sale. Go check it out. They're also giving out free games. Uh, right now, you can actually get, and this is, when you're listening to this, it's too late, people. I'm sorry. But if you were to check out the store, you can actually get, for instance, all of the recent Tomb Raiders, Rise of the Tomb Raider, well, Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider, and I forgot what the third one was. But you get all of that for free. You can get all three games for free, and you keep it
Okay, now
forever.
I'm just hateful.
Now, well, see, here's the thing: if you sign up for like make an account on Epic
Mhm.
Game Store, and then click claim, even if you can't play it right now, it's always yours. So if you get a new computer or
Mhm.
like years from now you want to play it, it's on your account. I have
Yeah.
plenty of games that I'm just not gonna. Well, I'm not to say that I'm not gonna play, but I have no time to play right now. That I just
Mhm.
like, ooh, I might be interested in that. Let me go ahead and download it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, just go ahead and make an account and claim it. But every day it's a new set of games that you will get for free on top of the sales. So definitely go check that out. Outside of
Yeah.
that, because we actually missed it, we skipped a week. I did go see Spider Man,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
it's easily one of the best Spider Man films. It was really good and shockingly emotional. I didn't expect to be hit with the emotions like that. And not in the sense of like the cameos and stuff, that side of thing. It was more so the humanistic side of these characters that actually came out. They were allowed to act as opposed to just being, going from one set piece to the next with a lot of explosions and whatnot. No,
Mhm.
it was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. One of my favorite films of this year, actually.
Awesome.
And at the same time, I don't recommend going out to see it. It's not going anywhere, folks. But the way COVID is jumping from person to person right now, I wouldn't recommend, but it is, and I know that's kind of bad for me to say after hyping the movie up, but yeah. On the flip side, and this is a movie that we both saw, The Matrix.
Yeah.
I didn't go to the theater to see that because I was like,
Nope.
Spider Man was gonna be my last film. So I waited. I watched it on HBO Max, and I actually tweeted my feelings about it. But it was I liked it on paper, and I like what they did in terms of, because obviously Warner Brothers wanted another Matrix,
Mhm.
and the director was like, fine. And because of that, they kind of made fun of themselves with just how it starts. I'm not going to spoil anything, but they basically make fun of all the ideas that are thrown around. They even use, words like bullet time, which is something that's only been used in like the video games. This is not something that was ever in the film, but
Mhm.
they're making fun of the fact that this is a thing that's even happening. And I think that was really smart. There's some other things that are really smart. Some playing with time that I think is pretty cool, and seeing these characters that you haven't seen in years, right?
Mhm.
At the same time, visually, it's so like a mixed bag. There's like a few scenes that look really good, and then there's a bunch of scenes that look like a bad, like made for television film. You know the Have you ever got like your parents like a new TV, right?
Mhm.
And they have this setting where the camera kind of like follows the action. It feels like someone is holding a camera watching whatever TV show,
Mhm.
and it just looks bad. And you have
Mhm.
to adjust it quick before you lose your mind. There was some shots in there that looked like that. There were some scenes that didn't work slow motion wise. There was just visually all over the place, and not in a
Yeah.
good way.
Yeah, bad.
I was really like wow, like I was really let down on some aspects of that. And then also the action wasn't as good. The cuts were kind of bad. There was a few fight scenes that were like almost okay, and then they went back to this weird, fast, choppy cutting. I get it. Keanu isn't as limber as he was before, but if you watch his John Wick films, he looks great. Like
Yeah.
you couldn't do more of that. I mean, whatever. The point is,
First of all, no,
I
Keanu's a vampire, and there's no excuse. There's no excuse. So no.
oh my
Man is
gosh.
like 76 years old, looking not a day over 41. And
I
yeah,
mean, like
see,
that's what
she
I'm saying.
agrees.
Like he looks like if you watch John Wick, like he's doing all sorts of. And granted, John Wick isn't as they're not doing martial arts in the same sense, but he still looks like he's able to physically do the stunts and action and all the other stuff.
Mhm.
And this, everyone looked like they were over the hill. Like everyone punching and kicking. It was hard to watch in places. And The Matrix isn't. It was not like the best kung fu movie ever, but the
Right.
action was competent and it made sense because they were in a computer to be kind of more, I don't want to say sterile, but a little bit more stiff, maybe. It
Yeah,
doesn't really work here. It just looks bad. And yeah,
it's
all in all,
bad
though, all in all, I enjoyed it for what it was. It was something that I'm probably never going to watch again.
ever.
And I'm not really going to I don't really care. I mean, I would be interested on HBO Max to see if they go anywhere else because, of course, Warner Brothers, if they make money, they're gonna want more. Because the Matrix in and of itself is an interesting thing to have. Like
Yeah.
there's so much room for story there, so
Yeah.
much so that I would like for them to do prequels. But as far as this one go, it's like it was a popcorn movie. I watched it. It was nah, and then that was it. That's all I got. It's nah. Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought it was so I mean, like, it's just funny because I woke up in the morning and I was like, "Yeah, I told myself I was gonna watch this, so let me just go ahead and do it before the internet ruins it for me." And, it's just so funny that I turned the movie on, I'm 4 minutes into this movie, and my best friend calls me and is like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm watching The Matrix." He's like, "That's exactly what I called you for." I was I was like I was like, "What, really?"
It's like we
And
need to talk.
yeah, he's like, "Okay, this movie is so stupid." I said, "Do I need to get off the phone?" He goes, "No, you can stay on the phone with me and watch it. I'm at work not doing anything anyway." And so I'm sitting there like, "Okay, I guess," and I'm watching this and then he's looking, we're on video chat. He's looking at the look on my face and he's like, "This movie is so stupid." And I'm like, why is this happening? I'm asking these questions and he's just shaking his head. So my comments are the same. I thought the action scenes were just really foolish. And one of the things that I enjoyed so much about the Matrix one, the first movie,
Right.
the only Matrix movie, like I like to say, the only one that counts, um, is that you do remember that there was barely anyone in that movie. Like there's like 6 characters, okay, in the whole movie, right?
Yeah.
And they did such great film making with like 6 people in a scene at all times. Like if not that, then less than.
Right.
And and I thought that that was extremely important because you had the coolest fight scene with Neo and
Mr. Smith.
Agent Smith
Yeah.
in the subway station, you know, and that looked really good and it still holds up to this day. Like you can still watch it and be like, okay, this was 1999, was it?
I
I
believe
don't
so.
remember. Um, or maybe I'm confusing that with that Ducati 99 because y'all know how much I love Ducatis. Yeah. Still can't believe that I never got a Ducati. No, I can believe that. I'm only worth a Honda, clearly. So I am watching this and I'm like, this is really bad. Like these action scenes were they were terrible. They were cut terrible. They were choreographed terrible. And they didn't make a lot of sense. It just didn't make a lot of sense. And then there's one scene where there's a lot of people in the scene. There's so many people and there's fighting going on and there's a lot of people. And I'm like, you kind of took away the beauty. Even when Neo fought Agent Smith and there were a million Agent Smiths, it was still cleaner and still much more
Yeah.
attractive.
And that had bad CGI, and
Yeah.
it looked better than whatever this is. And
Yeah.
it's whoever's doing these cuts, like these rapid cuts, like either just fam, get someone to stand in and like
Yeah.
I guess zoom out or something,
Yeah.
or train the characters to fight similarly to how you did the first Matrix.
Right.
Like, and this is for every film. Like these
Yeah.
fast rapid cuts just make the film look bad. We've seen too many good, or I'll say me. I've seen way too many good action films,
Yeah.
America and otherwise, for
Yeah.
this to be the norm in 2021. Stop it. Like,
That's what we're all saying. We're all screaming this. We like this is another one of the reasons why. Sorry, guys, got to do this again. We yelled at Cowboy Bebop. It's 2021. You don't have the right to give us bad stuff. You don't.
yeah, the bar is set kind of, and you know what? It wouldn't even be a thing if it was because you could do a lot with low budget. You could do a lot with within your budget, but
Yeah.
it's the Matrix, fam. Like I'm not even because I don't want
Yeah.
to make it seem like being snobbish, but you
No,
have to
we're not.
understand you're not gonna be a new Matrix. You're just not. It's not gonna have the same unless you did something that was like revolutionary. You're not gonna be the next Matrix, even being the Matrix 4. That being said, you can still put your best foot forward. And I think
Yeah.
they were mostly concerned with the writing and less visual. And unfortunately, Matrix is it's
It's a
huge on
visual movie.
visuals.
It's a
Right.
visual
It's
movie.
very, very big on that, from the
It's
styling to the slow motion. Because this is something we talked about before too, or actually we talked off air, but like we're like the Matrix, the second Matrix, that doesn't exist,
no.
where there's slow motion for the sake of slow motion. Whereas in
Mhm.
the first one, it was like it had purpose. It was either show you that something's happening rapid, and we need to
Mhm.
slow it down so you can see it, or it's
Mhm.
speeding up. Two examples. One is where Neo is dodging the bullets, the super lean that everyone
Yeah, he's
likes or
doing
whatever.
Gohan. He's doing
Right.
the Gohan.
And then the other one where they speed up the camera is when Agent Smith is punching him in the subway multiple
Yeah,
times, and there's like 5 fists coming out. Like it made sense. In the second Matrix, they had them doing slow motion coming down the steps for no
for
reason
no reason. No
at all.
reason.
It was just over. It was over the top, and it was access that like it was just too much. You know, less is more
Yeah.
kind of thing. And that's how I felt with the first Matrix. There wasn't a whole lot. Like you said, there's only like 6 people in a scene, and then
Yeah.
because all the villains were basically one character.
It's one
So
guy.
you know what I'm saying? So like they kind of did really well with that, with having less is more. And so
Mhm.
Because even the cuts that they had in the Matrix 4, when they kind of go back and show you the original Matrix, if you look at those scenes, there's nothing in them. There's a lot of empty
Nothing.
space, but it
My whole
works so
point,
freaking well.
it was
Versus what they have now. The fight scene with Morpheus. If we look at the two fight scenes,
it's
Morpheus
trash.
with Neo in the first one where he's in a dojo. In
Mhm.
this one, they do the same thing, but they pull out to show that he's on a lake somewhere, and it's
Yeah.
like, but why? We
What's
don't
the purpose?
we don't care. Like this is not adding to the scene. And I know I'm getting really nerdy about this, but you have to understand how such a like level that they put themselves on,
Yeah.
and then to kind of fall back down to here it really feels like this was a USA film.
He said
TNT,
USA. He
uh,
said TBS. He
UPN,
said
TBS. This is what it feels like. And I'm not mad at anybody who likes it. I enjoyed aspects of it. But the thing is, you have to understand, if you have really great art actors, if you have, you
Mhm.
know, a budget, if you have a good director, there's going to be moments of greatness. Like, because people love to say, like, if you critique something that you hated or you think everything is horrible. No, there are
Yeah.
going to be moments of greatness because you have great people working on this thing.
Yeah.
It just doesn't, it didn't, I don't know, coalesce into like something that was great for me. It was just kind of ho hum and
Yeah.
very, very mid. And I guess if that's what you want to end the year on,
It's like,
do you,
why? Why? Like, you literally named this Resurrections. That's a really big name.
right?
And I just want you to go back into the grave. I
Oh
want this
gosh.
killed. I want it gone because everything about I was just so irritated. I don't like because everything was stupid. And again, they did focus so much on story. They were trying to tell a story. And okay, so this is the thing that there made me very irritated. So I mentioned like obviously how I felt about the choreography and cutting and all that stuff and
Right,
the unnecessary massive amounts of people taking away from the goodness of the scenes like of the original.
right.
What I really didn't appreciate was they worked so hard to figure out a way to make this story make sense because we all know that this doesn't make sense. Like there's no the they literally it seems like they sat in a bunker and tried to hammer out the most airtight way to bring this back to us to make it all make sense. Like
But you
you
know
have
what?
people that should be dead.
But you know
Like
what? Here's the problem I have, right? Because it makes sense. Up to a certain point in the film, it made sense. It's convoluted because
mhm.
all of the Matrix is convoluted, but it made sense. The problem was when they broke their own rules, and I don't
Yeah.
understand why
Why?
they insisted on, like, there's a scene that I totally didn't understand. There's a scene where Neo is assumably captured, and the guy who's running the place or running the new Matrix is able to stop time or essentially
Yeah.
slow it down and make the world into his own bullet time.
Yeah.
And one of the agents was like, get that out of my face,"
Yeah.
Nacho Libre, "Get that corn out of my face." Like he smacks the weapon out of his hand. He's able to move normally, and they don't explain this outside of saying,
Yeah.
"I have a connection with Neo." I'm like, but Neo can't even do
Yeah.
this. Why is this? What? And so, like, there's instances like that in the film where I'm following, I'm getting it. Okay, this makes sense. It's a little ho hum, but yeah, all right, I'm with you. Let's follow the rabbit, and then it just changes, and I'm like, wait, that's not how this works. That's not how
No.
this. You just
Anything
told
works.
me how this, and not like how Neo can break the Matrix, like how he can fly, because even that makes sense. Like
Mhm.
he's his own program in a sense. He can manipulate things and bend things
Yeah.
to his will. This isn't the same thing. This is just straight breaking stuff.
Mhm.
And it doesn't, after a while, you're like, it is one of those things where you ever see a good movie and you have questions. And so you go back and you start Googling stuff. You look up, like, oh, is there a book? Because you want to know more. You had a good time and you want to know more. This is one of those things where,
Mm.
like, I have questions, but I don't really care to get the answers.
No, not at
I'm
all. I
good.
didn't I it wasn't worth the headache risk for me because
Right.
I personally do get headaches when I think hard now. Like this is not, we all make jokes about, yeah, that's making my brain hurt. No, it actually literally does for me. I can only expend a certain amount of energy on things because I will get a massive headache. And as I was watching this, I wasn't getting a headache because I refused. I rejected all of the
So
nonsensical
I'm not thinking.
information
Mm-mm, you
wave.
can't make me think.
No, you can't make me think. I'm like, I refuse because thinking will get me nowhere. It's like one of those mazes. It's a what do they call the concentric labyrinth or whatever. It has no. It's like a circle and there's no real
Right.
maze to it. I'm like, no, I saw through that already. From the first 4 minutes, I saw that this was foolish, and I then put no brain power into it, and I was like, "This is dumb." And I'm sorry, Jada Pinkett was the icing on the stupidity cake. So, because I'm sorry,
Wait, what did
I
she
don't know
do?
why was she walk. First of all, she's 9,000, and when she was walking around like she was so old and decrepit, I was like, just just get her out. Just I
Well, she can't
couldn't.
be. She can't be old. She can't be old now.
No, she can't. She actually can't. I'm like, because you done got what's his face to play Morpheus. You got Yaya to play Morpheus. You got Jonathan Groff to play Agent Smith. You done recast half the people. And no. So you could have found somebody who was old. I don't care. But the fact that y'all put makeup on the woman that we could see through, yeah, your makeup team was garbage. I don't even
Yeah,
know what
she.
was on her head. I
I.
don't. I don't know what was on her head when she was walking like the oldest lady on the planet. And I get it, she's supposed to be old, but I was just like, none of this was good. It didn't add to the story. It made it a caricature. It made it almost a comedy.
It's a fanfic. It's a.
Thank you. And I'm
It's a
tired of watching fanfics. we
goodness.
I'm tired. Sorry,
Oh,
like I feel like we've been graced with some really good things on television, and so these fanfics, which continually make me believe that anything that I've ever come up with should never ever go on TV because these people keep making me realize that my dreams are just that, and they're better kept to myself.
oh man. So my takes usually aren't as bad. Um, in that
Yeah, I'm
sense,
the bad one.
well, it depends though, because I let if for the people who've been listening, up until this point, or if you're just catching on, we talked about a ton of stuff on this show, from TV shows, video games, you name it, right? And I have
Mm.
been mad harsh on a few, because there's usually some redeeming factor, because I think that enough people who make these type of things are competent enough and they're successful enough that they make something decent, and then the
Mm.
bar kind of changes how you critique things, measuring how you measure a good story or a good plot, or good, like visually good things. You kind of use other things as the measure. Like, this is the bar. Like, Arcane is way up there in terms of visual entertainment.
Yeah.
Odd Taxi is way up there in terms of a non shonen anime. So
Mhm.
you kind of use that as a bar. Not to say that something can't be different and still be good, because you can.
Yeah.
But if we're in the same realm, i.e., Matrix and Matrix 4, we can kind of
Mhm.
compare and kind of see and how these things work. And we had a lot of stuff this year that I'm not even gonna say I had my hopes up for, but I was like, I want it to be good. This isn't a thing where I'm like, I can't wait to bash this. Like, I can't wait to bash Mortal Kombat. No, I really wanted Mortal Kombat to be good. I like the trailers. I like the fact that it was rated R. This was me. I've played I've played just about every Mortal Kombat game, sans the ones that were remade. So, like, I didn't play the mobile version of like Mortal Kombat 3 or anything. But for the most part, I played every Mortal Kombat. I even had if you know the Tiger handheld game, I
Mhm.
had the Tiger handheld. You need two AA batteries. It's basically lights that flash. Mortal Kombat. I had it. I am a huge Mortal Kombat fan, and I understand how nonsensical it is. I understand all the silliness that goes into this story, and it was still bad. You know
Right,
what I'm saying? So
right.
this is my criticism of it isn't because I just want to down people's hard work. It's because I want better. And I think you
Yeah.
can do better. And I don't think we should lean on the crutch of. Sorry, I just muted myself. I don't think we can lean on the crutch of it's based on a video game anymore, or it's a sequel to a very old movie, or what. No, because people are doing it and doing it well,
Yep.
like very very much so. So I don't we can't be all wishy washy up in here. Like we're just gonna say like nah, this was bad. This was kind of bad. Um, but yeah, I did see some good stuff. I got to finish Hawkeye,
Hmm.
and it ended well. I'm glad it was six episodes. I think that that's a
Yeah.
good amount because it makes it so that it doesn't feel it is necessary because it closes off a chapter for these
Mhm.
characters, but it's not at the point where you feel bad if you miss out, and it's not if you do have to watch everything, you don't feel the investment isn't huge. It's not like,
Mhm.
oh my god, I have to watch like 4 films just to understand this one. No, no, it's the episodes aren't long. It's not like HBO episodes where they're an hour and some change. It's
Mhm.
actually pretty bite size, and it worked out. I like what they did with the characters. I like the introduction of older characters from the original, the Netflix originals. How they were able to bring them in.
Mhm.
Actually, these guys have been cameoing a lot. There's a dope cameo in Spider Man. I'm not going to spoil. There's
Mhm.
a cameo in Hawkeye that comes up later, and I'm super happy that these characters were able to get off of the Netflix show and kind of make it into the MCU because they
Yeah.
were really good. They were acted very well, or like well acted. The actors and actresses did really a really good job with those characters, and they fit. They fit already because even though the shows are outside the MCU at the time, they were they made mention of like the big green guy. They couldn't say the Hulk, but they could say the big
Yeah.
green guy. You knew who he was, right?
Yeah.
And so it's really cool to see them. Unfortunately, that means that Iron Fist is real. That's unfortunate. But beyond him, and which is I hope they do a redo of Iron Fist because he's a really cool character in like comic wise, but they treated him like the Aquaman, like Scott Summers, Cyclops. They treat them like how the persona that we have from them being really corny or just really bad characters and not their
Mhm.
comic book equivalent. And so you essentially got a really bad Iron Fist. I hope they recast. No offense to the actor, but I don't want whiny baby Anakin Iron Fist. I don't want that. I want a better Iron Fist. So can you not do that? But yeah, it was dope to see those characters, and I'm looking forward to whatever Marvel has next. I know that. Oh, I can actually talk about this now because they showed the trailer outside of Spider-Man, but at the end of Spider-Man, past the credits, they showed the trailer for the next Doctor Strange film, and in
Mhm.
that we got cameos from a bunch of people. We got Wanda, the
Mhm.
Scarlet Witch. She's in there. We also got a brief, image of America Chavez. I believe her last name is Chavez, who is a Latinx superhero. So that's
Mhm.
dope. We also got to see Miss Marvel, who's the first major Muslim superhero in the Marvel universe. We got to see both
Mhm.
of them in this film, and they're also going to be in a show coming up. And I believe Monica's in it. So we got to see a lot of people of color,
Rambo.
right? We got to see a lot of superheroes that are people of color that I'm looking forward to seeing, and they're all women. Shout out to that. So that's a dope trailer.
Okay.
Go check that out if you haven't seen it. Um, but yeah, I think that's it for like visual for me.
Mhm.
Beyond that, the Christmas break has been good. Kids had fun. We stayed safe. Everyone
That's
was
good.
masked up like a bunch of ninjas, and we opened a bunch of gifts. I got a ton. I still have gifts coming actually because the mail system and everything has been not the mail system, but deliveries and whatnot have been kind of delayed because of COVID. But I got a lot of cool stuff. I got my wife some dope things, and we had a good time. We had a good time.
Good.
Hopefully,
That's really
everybody else
good.
did.
Yeah, I mean, you know me, I stay to myself. I try to stay away from humans because, head injury and COVID.
Right.
Can't have both. You got to pick one. You got to pick a struggle.
Yeah. It's like, huh?
That
COVID, concussion, COVID. I don't
yeah,
know. It's just, I don't
it's a
know.
toss up, and I'm just gonna stick to the one I know,
Right.
which is the concussion. So yeah, so there's that. So there's there's that isolation thing. But yeah, the mail system does suck. USPS lost my. We talked about how my phone had broken over
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, and I didn't have a phone for 2 weeks, basically. And then I got my replacement, set it up, whatever. Couldn't get any information off the old phone because the screen was cracked, and there's literally nothing I could do. Um, so
Oh,
I put it in the envelope. I mean, like the screen's cracked and the screen's black. So like the phone's useless. I can't do anything. I can't get any information off of it.
right.
Anyway, so all I did was pop out the SIM and that's it. And I sent it back in the envelope in which they gave me. They sent me an envelope with the USPS label on it.
Right.
Um, I put that in the mail, put my return address on it and my name. I literally dropped it in the mail receptacle because they say you have 10 days to return it. And I'm like, well, I don't know what day it is, but it's getting close to that 10 days. So let me drop this in my outgoing mail receptacle, which I
Right.
did in my apartment, which is, locked by a key that only the mailman can open. And I heard it go thunk. So I know it went in there. And here we are, 23rd, almost, 25 days later or whatever, almost, very almost a month later. And they're telling me they haven't received it. It hasn't been scanned by the post office. And I'm like, that's y'all's problem.
Right.
I did what I was supposed to do. And you can't give me 17,000 different instructions. Like, don't sit there and say, oh, well, you should have taken it to the post office. Yo, I am not mobile. Okay. I gotta call somebody to come and take me and to do these types of things. And my brain can't take all of that information. So
I mean,
when
even if
y'all,
there wasn't, they gave you, you had an option of doing it one way.
yeah,
And so they can't be like, well, you should have did it. No, I did what I was supposed to. I put it in the
yeah,
place where they pick up the items to take.
yeah. So I'm
That's
like, it's literally I put it in the mail slot. I heard it go thunk on the other side, which means it was in there. Uh y'all can't, and now they want to sit there and they're like, yeah, we're gonna charge you the full price for the phone. No, you're not, because once you hit that charge button, my bank will reject it. There's no money in there. So stop. Just stop now. Stop in
be
advance so you don't look dumb because nothing else
beyond the,
is.
moral repercussions, but just the idea that I have no money. I
Yeah.
have nothing to give you. So, yeah. But yeah, it's they're probably gonna get it late, just like everyone's getting everything late, and it's gonna be this big like, oh, we didn't mean to, blah blah blah. Hopefully that's the case. But yeah, it's I understand it's frustrating on our end. It's probably, I don't know what is going on their end. It's probably just as frustrating to try to get all this stuff out because this time of the year is really rough, anyways. You know, pushing COVID aside, just trying to get all the packages that people are ordering from Amazon and all these other places out to people in a timely manner, especially if they have Prime, is a headache. And add COVID on top of it, add, delays and all this other stuff. You, yeah, it's going to be a struggle. It's going to be a struggle. So I don't envy anybody's position, working behind the scenes and whatnot.
Yeah.
But the reality is that it's not fun for anyone, especially if you
Yeah.
have, because this also happens with not just, we're talking about like Christmas things and replacing a phone, but this also happens with people's medication that are
Yeah.
mailed. You know what I mean? Like that stuff is important. So this is
This
why
is
we tell you
why
to
I like
mask up, folks.
Courier.
This is why we tell you to mask up and to get vaccinated if you can, and just to be vigilant, or at the very least, stay home. Like for real, stay home.
Yeah.
If you don't want to get vaccinated, you don't want to wear a mask, you don't want to do those type of things. At the very least, stay away from me because then
Please.
it's just your own germs. It's your own stuff with your family and blah 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 blah. But don't go out and just be on some rah rah ish because you feel like it's your freedom. Yeah, you are free to do certain things, but there are some consequences that come with those freedoms. So
Mhm.
stop being a loser. So anywho, but yeah, beyond delivery issues, the holiday season has been going pretty splendidly. And like I said, I got to watch a bunch of stuff. I got to catch up on some things that I wanted to catch up on, whether it was reading, anime. Shout out to One Piece and Boruto that are holding me down. I checked out a couple of other anime too to kind of add to my rotation because I know it's coming. That where there's going to be a lull and I'm going to be pissed. Uh, and I also re-added Attack on Titan back because the final is coming up next
Mhm.
month. So
Yeah, we need that.
I'm looking forward to finally ending this thing. I really hate mid-season cuts like this, people.
Mhm.
So that's coming back, and The Walking Dead, I believe, is supposed to be ending. I think in February. I don't know, but I'm looking forward
Wait,
to
like ending,
those TV
ending?
shows.
They said they greenlighted when I checked on Wikipedia last year, they said they greenlighted, like, season 12.
No, so they're gonna have, at least from what I was seeing recently, they're gonna be ending this show. They have two other Walking Dead shows they're gonna be ending, and then they have movies that they've already set up with some of the
Mhm,
characters that aren't on there anymore.
mhm.
Spoilers for anybody who's been watching, but I mean, actually, if you've been watching to now, you know like Rick is gone.
Yeah.
He is going to be in the film, and so AMC is going to be making films. That's that, and then that will be like, hopefully, will be the end. But it's the last season has been really good so far, and the season
Mhm,
before that was great, and that's saying something because this is The Walking Dead. If you've been watching again, it's up and down. The season two was horrid. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? So the fact that we even got this many seasons is a blessing if you like
I'm
zombies.
I'm still amazed.
I so am I because I really thought season two. Whoo! And then I was it season four. Like, there's a couple of seasons in there that I'm like, I don't know how this survived,
I don't
and
either.
they bounce back. They usually have season 10 was really well written, like really really good, and season 11 so far has been that way, and or at the very least, seemingly because we're not done yet. Um, so the next half is going to be coming up uh, this year, or 2022, and hopefully it ends
Mhm.
on a solid note, like the comics, because the comics have been done already, and I'm looking forward to it. So shout out to those shows. What else am I looking forward to in the new year? There's a lot of movies coming out that I'm not going to go to the theater to see, but I still want to see them. Hopefully, we get the digital description thing like on some type of standard because I don't like this. I can't buy that, but I can only rent that type of thing anymore. This is really annoying. I had this happen recently with a couple of films. I saw the Resident Evil movie. I talked about it here. It's now available for digital, but you can only rent it because it's still in the theater.
Mm.
But then the movie Antlers, which is still in theater, I was like, you know what? I want to see it. It looks like an interesting horror film. I can only buy it. And I'm like, I don't want to, I haven't seen it yet, fam. Like, why can't I have I want to buy that one and rent that one. Can you guys swap? Like, why are we doing this? They both hit the app at the same time and I got advertised for them at the same time, but I don't want to view them in the way that they are showing. I
Mm.
don't understand the options here. Just I'll pay more to buy Resident Evil if that's the case, if that's what you want, but I'm not gonna
Mhm.
rent it. I already saw the movie. Anywho,
Mhm.
I hope we get like some type of standard for that going forward because yeah, I'm not gonna be going to the movies anytime soon. A lot of people that I know personally have gotten COVID, and I haven't been near them or anything, but they've been sharing on social media that they've got COVID, even though they were careful, they've been vaccinated, they've been, you know, but like the holiday season, plus it's flu season on top of that,
Mhm.
being around people, even just to exchange gifts, not everybody was safe, or at least not everybody in the bubble were safe. That maybe it's, your friend is cool, you're cool, but the person you work with isn't cool. And so someone gets it who's asymptomatic, and then
Mhm.
it spreads that way. And so a bunch of friends that I know are right now quarantining because they caught COVID. So I'm not
Yeah.
I'm gonna be housebound for a while.
Yeah.
So I need my digital stuff, fam. I need my digital stuff. I need all this stuff to kind of keep me sane for a
Yeah.
bit. Um,
Agreed.
i-
Agreed.
is there anything you're looking forward to in the new year?
Um, I can't think that far ahead.
That's fair. That is
It doesn't compute. It's really hard.
that is
Really,
fair.
really, really hard. I'm looking forward to being able to play video games again on my console.
Yes.
And so what I'm going to try to do is get Tomb Raider now that I know that I can get the Tomb Raider for free, the last one, because I have the other two.
Yes,
Um,
get
so
it.
I'm gonna try to get that on the computer through Epic because I have Epic. But I've only put one game on my computer. I only got Civilization. We've discussed this.
Yep.
And so I'm looking forward to that. I think that'll be kind of fun. Um, I'm looking forward to whatever good content these people are putting out. I really am. I just want good stuff to come down the pipeline. That's really it. I think Alice in Borderland might come back next year. I'm not saying that Alice in Borderland was actually good, but it
I never
was.
finished it.
I mean, it's not. If you get bored of it, then it's hard to finish
Right.
because it's not great. Like, and it's not. There are reasons as to why it's not great. It's honestly like when I was watching it, I was like, this feels like a manga that got turned into a television show really quickly.
It does actually. It
Yeah,
definitely. It even sounds like it.
yeah, and it is a manga, I believe.
Oh,
But
word. Okay.
yeah, and that's why I'm saying it read so true. Like we're watching it and we're like, this sounds like because I honestly felt like I was watching an anime just acted by real people. And again, we've talked about how that's not a good thing. How,
Right.
please stop doing these extra things that make you look animated because it doesn't come across, it doesn't translate, and it
It does
just
not.
it's not good acting. So, especially when you have a topic that's kind of as serious as like Alice in Borderland, where you don't really know what's going on and you're confused, and it's basically like another version of Gantz, except it's
Mm.
not. You saw Gantz, right?
Yeah.
The animated version, not the CG
Was it?
version.
I think I saw the CG version.
Okay. So, there's more than that. The CG
Right.
version is one thing, and then the drawn animated version came out, well, like way before that. But like, it's kind of like watching a people version of Gantz without all of the honestly X-rated stuff.
Right.
But like serious, just being honest. But anyway, I'm kind of looking forward to that because I think that's supposed to come next year because I just want to see where they go with the story. But
Right.
if it doesn't come next year, then I kind of don't really care. My
That makes
subtitle
sense.
watching has to be limited because I'm kind of slow with reading now because, all the stuff.
Right.
So there's that. And but yeah, I'm just kind of looking forward to good content. I'm looking forward to House of the Dragon. Um just because, I'm Team Targaryen. It's so funny that I even say that I'm Team Targaryen. I'm Team Rhaegar, but like, I guess I'm Team Targaryen.
I mean,
Even-
it's hard for me to go to them because of how bad of a taste Game of Thrones left in my mouth. Like when it ended. Even when
yeah,
they first announced it, I was like, man, I don't want to go back to Game of Thrones because I just even with it being a prequel, I just know where it goes, and they're not gonna redo them. So I'm just like, fam,
yeah.
it's just
I mean,
not
I want to give
not
them
for
a
me.
chance because they fired D&D. So
Right,
it's like, oh, D&D didn't touch this, I'll watch it. Oh, this is crap, but D&D didn't touch it, I'll watch it. Like, can't be as bad as crap that D&D has made. but
right.
I don't know. I'm kind of looking forward to that, but I'm not like super super pressed. Um, because I did start reading the books and I find them interesting. So, you know, um, yeah,
That's what's up.
there's a lot of stuff that I guess I'll look forward to, when it gets here. But I don't know if there's anything specific, and if there is, I can't think of it right now, and I'm giving myself a headache even trying. So,
I feel you. I have a lot of. I mean, that was because I mentioned anime, but there's a lot of upcoming
yeah.
films that I want to see, and there's a lot of video games too. Like, at being a horror fan, I'm looking forward to the Evil Dead game. Bruce Campbell is going to be. He's lending his voice, and I think he's helped producing in some aspect. It's made by Saber Interactive, who also made World War Z. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
game dropping. Elden Ring, which is a Souls game but is open world, and it reminds me a little bit of Sekiro with the sneaking and stuff. And it looks amazing. It's probably gonna frustrate the hell out of me, but I I I think I want it. I think I want to try it out and try to get back into this whole Souls whatnot.
Hmm.
There's also Sifu, which I talked about on the last podcast. I got to play the preview build. That I actually don't have to buy or anything because my build will eventually turn into the full game, and I'll be playing that. And I'll also be streaming that, so definitely be on the lookout. But I'm
Hmm.
looking forward to it because the preview build that I played was very fun. It was very fun.
Hmm.
I'm also looking forward to Dying Light 2, and these are just in the first few months of the year, but a lot of solid games coming out, or at least solid sounding games. I haven't actually,
Hmm.
outside of Seafood, I haven't played them, so I can't really say. But from what I've seen, they all look dope. They all look dope. Also, Oxenfree 2, but I know that's early 2022. If you haven't played Oxenfree, it's well, I think it was free at one point, but it's a really good time looping game. And I really don't like those, so that should tell you it's a dope game. But yeah, ton of games. I'm also looking forward to music. Shout out to Nas for dropping Magic during the holidays. That was really cool. Him and Hit Boy. I think more props should be given to Hit Boy because someone who's a newer like producer who's making beats that sound very 90s but at the same time modern. He's
Hmm.
doing a phenomenal job. Like it doesn't sound like how I thought it would sound in a sense that oh, you're trying to do 90s? Like
Hmm.
you can't really hit that mark, but you're trying. No, that he does really well. But at the same time, it's not so 90s that it makes you want to just go listen to the old stuff. It's like no, this works pretty well. So this is the third album that they've done together. King Disease 2, and then Magic that they just dropped out of nowhere. So shout out to them. I'm looking forward to new good music from most genres, but mostly hip hop. That's kind of my lane for the most part. So I
Hmm.
am looking forward to new music. Russ put out some good stuff recently too. Not as good as his last album, but he's rapping a lot more versus singing, which I'm always down for. Because I think I'm over the Drake phenomenon. Like I'm only a few people could sing rap with me. You know, Bone Thugs and Harmony, they were up there. But outside of that and a few others, like I would rather you not. This same
Uh,
monotone, whatever the thing that he does all the time is just I'm just kind of done with it. I don't. Maybe just me, but shout out to Drake fans out there.
mm.
Um, I mean, he is catchy. He has some catchy stuff, but I don't think it's ever to the point where I would actually buy like a Drake album. Like I'm just like
Yeah.
it's not. It's just not gonna. I'm singing this, but begrudgingly. I don't really want to sing "I'm Too Sexy" with Future's or what's his name's voice in the background. Like I'm good. I'm good. But I am
Yeah.
looking forward to just having some new stuff to listen to, new stuff to watch and play, and just kind of have the newness of the next year. 2021 has been there's been a lot of ups and downs, peaks and valleys, and I feel like the new year gives a fresh start, even though it's not really. It's just next month, but it feels like it's a new thing. So I'm looking forward to that, if that makes sense. I'm also looking forward to
Yeah.
my birthday being in January.
Yes. Next month.
I am looking forward to that. So now we're going to get into our last topic, and that is the final episode of Insecure. You knew it was coming, and you
Hmm.
know that we're going to spoil it because it's the last episode. And yeah, totally, we don't do this all the time. We usually spoil the first episode because we figure who cares? It's the first episode as long
I
as it's not the
know.
last. But this is the last episode of the entire thing. There's no more seasons of Insecure. There's no prequels coming. There's none of that. This is
So
it.
you should have watched it, and if you didn't, you're kind of totally loser.
A little bit, if you're a fan, a little bit. But no, I get it. If you've been working, you haven't had time to catch up on it. Totally get that. Feel free to stop here. In which case, make sure to follow and subscribe all the places that you can do that. If
Mm,
you want to listen though, feel free. So,
please.
Insecure. I'm actually gonna let you start because I feel like I've been talking a lot.
um. So, I just kind of want to say that I'm very satisfied.
Yes.
I feel very satisfied with the way it ended. It ended the way that I actually thought it was gonna end. I was running predictions week by week and and not even just week by week, but no, I have to say week by week because it's just what felt right, and it was what felt right to me. It was just what I wanted. It's just the things that I wanted. So I felt very satisfied in the ending, and I appreciate the journey that we got to go on. I actually do
Yeah.
feel like this season could have been longer. I feel like we could have gotten another episode. And I'm only saying that because, the final episode was time skips,
Yeah.
and they're even though the time skips were fine, but we could have gotten like an hour episode and an hour season finale, or we could have gotten an extra episode somewhere in there. Um, and I wouldn't have minded it. And I'm not saying that some of the things that happened in that episode, like I needed more explanation. That's not true. That's not actually what I wanted. But
Right.
let's just go over the main gist of kind of the episode. Um, we do have the continuation of the episode before, which was um
The men
Nathan,
drama.
yeah, Nathan and Lawrence getting into it, and Issa kind of being like, "Eh." So something that I found very interesting. Um, Issa and Nathan are in the car. This is after the fight. Nathan's dropping her off at home, and Issa really wants to go inside and talk about it. And Nathan says some important things. Nathan is like, "I don't need this in my life. I don't want this. Like, I'm finally mentally, emotionally stable." We know that he suffers from bipolar disorder. He's
Right.
gotten to a point where he doesn't want to run away. He doesn't want to go back to Houston. He wants to stay in LA and live his life. And if this is what it's going to be like with Issa, feeling that she's still got feelings for her ex man, which, mind you, she has already left him before for once, and he's always going to feel that way, then this isn't what he wants. I mean, he knows that he can do better. And
He said it in the most he said it in a hurtful way though. Like
it, it
because it
was
wasn't
hurtful.
because the thing is I think if he could articulate that
Mhm,
I can't be a part of something that could potentially lead me down a negative path, it's a little bit more understanding.
mhm.
But if you're like, I just can't be a part of this messy stuff, it's like, wait, who's messy though? Because honestly, Lawrence, I mean, granted, he didn't see all that, so
Mhm.
he's not aware. But
Yeah.
Lawrence approached her, and she was trying to be like, "This isn't a good time. I don't
Yeah.
really want to talk." And then he intervened in such a way because how he was feeling.
Yeah,
And granted,
exactly.
he does, and so like the onus isn't on him. Like, even though he's saying that I can't be a part of this because of me, he's making it seem like it's her. Like I can't be a
Like,
part of any messy stuff that you're
mhm.
doing. And it's like, well, that's not, you kind of made it a mess when you acted out in front of everyone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm. Yeah. I feel you on that because, like, because he's in a moment, he's not gonna be able to articulate, like, the way you said it because he's hurt, and hurt people.
right, factual.
And he's not he can't do that. Like, him calling her messy was a way to shut down the conversation in a way, because he did not wanna go inside. Like, the conflict, all scenes of metal have to have conflict. Their conflict is she wants to get inside and talk, he doesn't wanna go in, and somebody's gotta
Right.
win. And, he's not gonna go, but it's very interesting how this mirrors the same episode from the beginning. How she is in the car with Lawrence, and Lawrence is dropping her off at home, and she's like, "I don't wanna do this. Like, Lawrence, I've thought about it." And what does Lawrence do? He goes, "Okay." So,
Yep.
what I'm saying it here is that Issa on this she's on the other foot here where she actually wants to have the conversation, and Nathan is like, "I don't wanna have the conversation." The truth of the matter is the important question needed to be asked. And I do believe that the both of them already knew the answer to the important question. It's the same thing as when Issa and Lawrence could have had that conversation because, he didn't fight for her. Lawrence is upset because he's like, I didn't fight for you, Issa. You didn't fight for her because the mature thing to do was to let her go. Because if you asked the true question, she would answer it the same kind of way that she said in the end of season 4. This is too much. I don't want to be with the man that I love who's having a baby with a girl who used to be my friend and coworker. It's too much. I can't
Right.
handle it. And not right now, not where my life is. I don't want to do this. They would have had to have that conversation. He didn't want to do that because he knew the answer. She knew the answer, and they just parted ways like adults. But of course, it was still eating at them because at the end of the day, they love each other. And the same conversation would have happened with Issa and Nathan, because the real question that needed to be asked is, are you still in love with him? And where do we go from here? And it would have been the same.
Right.
And so I think that's just very important. I kind of really appreciate P- Penny for the work. I really do. I like, how the season went um in this, in this direction. Again, I like this season better than season 4.
Yeah.
Um just because it felt less like it was the same formula as season 4, but it was less music video-esque. Like, it was less disjointed. It was more, it didn't feel as much wasted time. And it just seemed like a calm way to exit. It seemed like everybody had matured. And I think that was exactly what they were going for, because it wasn't you know, oh crap, this happened to me. Okay. And acting crazy like they did in season 1 and 2 and 3, which was so entertaining. Moving
Right.
along with this episode. But so now you start having these time skips with this breakup. And you have, another birthday party, and you know, uh Issa's birthday party where she gets to finally kind of lay not but end things the what's with Nathan is officially over. It's already over, but they finally get to see each other on Issa's birthday as her career with Crenshaw is taking off.
Right.
And which is, like, if people want to say, oh, well, I didn't get to see this, they were checking all of the boxes in this episode. They were closing all of the
Yep.
questions and loops. She went forward with Crenshaw and did her thing with him, and it actually ended up being a good relationship because Crenshaw is no longer the world-class asshole that he was earlier on in the
Yep.
season. He clearly has grown up and realized his follies. Hopefully it
Right.
continues, because that's a douchebag that I wouldn't want to work with anymore, because he can't keep to his end of a contract.
Yep.
But we get to see that. We get to see Issa and Nathan um, mend what happened between them and kind of, go forward. We get to see um, uh, what is her name? Molly go through a horrifying loss of the sudden loss of her mother,
Right.
and which is terrible for everyone involved, but it also is the catalyst that makes Issa want to reach back out to um,
Lawrence.
Lawrence, because we need this to happen. Like, so much time skips. It's not just 1 year. Like, how at the beginning of the season we got that 1 year later thing.
Right.
This is not that. This is multiple time skips, and then we get the whole 1 year later. But before that happens, we get to see Issa date multiple men. She goes through, multiple relationships, but she still keeps thinking about Lawrence in the background. And you see Lawrence going through multiple, well, at least one relationship, and also thinking about Issa as well. They keep calling each other and their lines are crossed, and then they do manage to find their way back to each other. But I think using Molly's mother's death as that catalyst was kind of important for storytelling, to kind of make them realize the gravity of what they were going through, because they can keep playing this game for years and they'll always still love each other, and they're just going to keep hurting people along the way, and they keep hurting themselves. So I appreciated the use of that. I shipped Molly and Torian a long time ago, honestly. But I was just like, whatever, we'll see what happens. But something I want to mention is I loved when Molly and Torian had their moment, not in this episode, a few episodes back at the hotel, where they finally kind of realized that they liked each other.
Yeah.
And they had this funny because Molly is mad weird and Torian is awful. Like they can't do anything right. And they're sitting
Yeah.
here like don't know what to do because they realize they kind of are attracted to each other. And then she said something about a mug and he goes, "My mother has a mug." That I cracked up. I don't know how long I laughed. I don't know how long I laughed on that statement because it was just like they were being so weird. And she said something about oh, my mug or whatever. He said, "My mother has a mug." Like, you don't know what to say. That you said
Right.
something ridiculous, like my mother has a mug. That was just freaking funny. And I really, really I enjoyed them. And I was like, please, please get married. Please, please get married. And of course, they get married, which is amazing because it shows Molly's growth.
Right.
And Molly was, broken from the jump. And I really appreciate the last line of the show. Goes all the way back to episode 1, where she was like, obviously they've been having a lot of marital activities, and she's like, "This
Right.
nigga broke my pussy." And then he's like, she goes, "Oh, wait, you gonna use my words?" Because we all remember the song from the first episode.
Right.
And I was like, thank you, Issa. Thank you for giving us that because we needed that, and we needed the love for Molly and Issa because it was always their friendship love story. We needed that. And I truly, truly appreciated I appreciate the growth that Lawrence had with Condola
Yeah, that
because
was
it
good.
was getting really bad in the season and it was really, really sad. And it shows how awry things can go for people who are co-parenting, but they're doing a bad job and they are, hateful towards each other for all kinds of nonsensical stuff, the way that Condola and him were fighting over small things. It was just bad. And Lawrence did the right thing, I think, moving back. I think that was a smart idea. Not that it was the right thing, but it was a smart thing.
Right.
And of course, misunderstandings. I just feel like this season was so much about growth, and it was so much about becoming an adult and becoming more secure in yourself. Like we know the title of the show, but everybody has relationships with other individuals, and you have to be adult about them. You have to communicate, and they started to learn how to do these things. It's why Molly was able to fall in love and get married because she learned how to communicate properly. And um, Issa and Lawrence had gotten to a place in the previous season where they were communicating amazingly. And then, of course, this baby thing happened with condolences, and that all got messed up. So,
Condolences.
I mean, just saying, Consuela needed to check herself, but she's a great mom, and we know that Issa did throw their baby, but that was all in her head,
That was
and
hilarious.
so good. It was so good. She just straight dunked. she just she free throw shotted the baby. Like that was
That
amaze balls,
that was great.
and then Condola did kick her and put her in the trash. So
Yeah.
that was fun too. But I appreciated like all of those segments, and it made me very happy because these two people did find themselves to each other. She did have the ending that she wanted, but not the same ending that she did see. They talked about it in the wind down that she had imagined them a few seasons ago getting married and having a child, and this wasn't the same, but it was exactly what
Right.
they needed. They couldn't have made it together when Ja was a baby. That wasn't going to work. It wasn't because there was probably going to be a lot of
There was
what's the
already
word?
she basically skipped all the messiness. She skipped all the because then if you think about it, Condola and Lawrence are fighting, and then Lisa gets in the middle. I mean,
Yep.
not Issa gets in the middle, that's not gonna be good for anyone. So
Exactly.
in waiting, it actually, and granted, that wasn't. It's not like they strategically waited, but
Yeah.
it just so happened that waiting until things were cooler with the two parents
Yep.
made dating a little bit easier because now it's like I'm respectful,
Yep.
respectful of your new relationship, they're respectful of who you're dating, but then
Yep.
also respectful of the relationship between you and your baby mother, and everyone is cool with this co-parenting, co-whatever thing that we're doing, as opposed to before when they weren't mature enough to handle it.
Yep.
Because that's essentially what
The
it
show's
kind of,
about.
well, yeah, it's that, and then it kind of coming to a head with people wanting to fight each other. Because I thought like, and granted, this is definitely from a guy's point of view, so I'll just
Mhm.
point that out. But
Mhm.
I think that Lawrence, while I think that Lawrence handled things poorly, I
Yeah.
totally understood his frustration
Mhm.
because he was being pushed out of everything.
Yeah.
Um, and that wasn't his desire. He made that very clear that he wanted to be part of
Yeah.
his son's life, that he
Yeah.
wanted to help do whatever. And, for whatever reason, um, or maybe she just expected him not to be. Condola was like, I got it, I got it, I got it, I got it.
Mhm.
Don't worry about it, and that's going to cause friction to someone who wants to be around. So
Exactly.
once that kind of got over that hump and he stopped doing dumb things, um, she can kind of be like, you know what, that's not cool, because he is a good father. He is
Yeah.
here. He is doing whatever, and everyone else is like we're pushing him away, and that's not you want the good father. You don't want the bad father. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Mhm.
So uh, once they got over that hump, it made everything else in their lives essentially easier
Yeah.
because there's no, the mess is not
Mhm.
messy anymore. Essentially,
Yeah.
uh,
He
but
needed
I
to understand that he needed to be like, it was one thing being like, I'm going to step up and be a good father. I'm here. I'm showing up on the weekends. Her biggest problem, which again, she was having problems communicating this because it needed to be communicated. What this woman is going through is the fact that she pushed out a baby. She does not sleep. Her body is wrecked. And this guy shows up every other weekend or almost every weekend. And he gets to cancel when he wants to. She never gets that. And so her frustration is his ability to go in and out and to not recognize what she does daily, and for him to be like, I see what you're doing. I need to take on that burden, not just take Sun for the night and have a good time and have all the fun stuff. It's, I am literally murdering myself, and you get to pick and choose what time you get to show up and what time you get to cancel, right? So they weren't, she wasn't even exerting, she wasn't able to tell him why she was so angry and then therefore was shutting him out.
well, no,
And
but that's the thing. Her ability to shut him out was what kind of caused that. Outside of him canceling that one time when they
mhm,
first had the date set up,
mm.
she was shutting him out. She told him that she had the baby through a text, like
Yeah, yeah,
before they
which was
even got.
terrible.
You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? So like, and he's like, I apparently my son was born. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like, and so like, and this is because I've been there the entire step of the way with my wife, and so I
mhm,
know where like the postpartum and all that kind of comes in,
yeah,
but you can't. And this is not something that I necessarily blame her for because if you're in pain or you're in whatever, you're not going to see logically. You're not going to
yeah,
think logically. But if you want someone to be there all the time,
mhm,
then don't push them away when they're there. Because
mhm,
if you're saying that you can only see your son at this time, or I don't trust you with your son, or I don't do whatever these cases, then I'm only going to show up when you allow me to, and that
mhm.
happens to be on the weekends. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like it's kind of like he needs to understand or needed to understand that this is very, very difficult, but he was
yeah.
never going to understand that unless she let him actually be around more
Right.
so.
She was never gonna he was never gonna understand that because of the fact that, well, not if she let him be around, even though that was wrong. Like, I agree with you because I feel like the progression of that episode, when you watch that episode, I was siding with Lawrence because I was really upset with the way she was behaving. I mean, we're
Yeah.
all upset that she told him via text that she had a baby and all this stuff. But then when you get to the end of the episode, you're like, Condola has literally gone through all of this stuff, and the real issue is that not just that she was shutting him out, he's not going to be available because he's not there. You know, and he's in another
Right, they're
city.
not together. Yeah.
They're not together. He's in another city, and her vision of him is come down weekend, go back, work. Like Monday through Friday, that like she's doing everything, and he literally gets to come in and out. Like he's not there Monday through Friday. He's living his life in a whole nother city, dating, doing all these things. He's not losing sleep. If he loses sleep once a week, or not even once a week, once every other weekend, that's not equal at all. And she knew he was moving, and that's why you remember they got into that argument.
Right.
Like he said to her, he's like, "You blew up my life." Like she's like, "You're not here." And he goes, "You knew I was moving to another city when you decided to have a baby." Like, and so right then and there shows that they're never ever going to be on the same page. And that's why I say it was the smart thing, not necessarily the right thing, but it was a smart thing for him to come back, because it was never going to work the way they were continuing on. They would have so much animosity for each other because she would envy the fact that he still gets to come in and out. And she
Yeah.
would be angry and not trust that he was following their family plan when he's away in San Francisco with their son for a night. It was just not going to be right. And I had to like by the end of that, I was like, I really, really, really feel for Condola, because like when they showed her falling asleep on the toilet and the phone ringing and setting her off, like, oh my God, what's going on? Like the woman she literally hasn't slept.
Right.
And it's not just like, oh, I'm not getting support from the guy that I'm with. It's like, we don't like each other. And when he does come, when he is around, I know he feels like he's getting shut out, but then he makes decisions on his own and we're not doing them together. So, like, I just think that Lawrence, I have to applaud him for being smart, for sacrificing the job that he took to come back. And again, they never clear up if had to keep the same job or if he got a new
Right.
job coming back. So they never clear that up. Plot armor, whatever. But they move forward, and that's amazing because first of all, these are Black people and we want to see them succeed.
Right.
We want to see them co-parent and succeed, because that is very possible. People don't have to be married or in love to be able to co-parent properly. And they did a great job. They did so well that Issa thought they were together. Like,
Right.
you know, she thought they were together and she was almost hurt. She was like, oh, he moved back for her. Okay. You know, like if there was no baby, he would have still been a trolley nigga and they would have just been doing their thing. So, but I mean, like, again, that just made me really happy that they were able to do their thing. And then, of course, he realizes, you know, Issa is he's living his life and enjoying it, but Issa's not in it. And he always wanted her in it, and he saw her in it. And of course, he shouldn't have approached her at the party that way, but you could see the desperation in him. And he just knew he needed to do something instead of being logical about it and contacting her later. He needed to do it
Yeah.
then and then, and it was bad, and it reminded me of when Daniel was looking for Issa at the event that she was throwing in
Oh
Idlewood
yeah.
River. It was very reminiscent of that, and, you know, Lawrence being in another room and seeing them through the window, and then, you know, like in this one, Nathan walks up and he's like, what the hell is happening here? And he's not cool with this, you know, it's just not none of it's okay, but we have Molly ask the question, what would you have said if Nathan hadn't interrupted? And Issa already knew the answer and she had been known the answer. She just kind of thought that Lawrence was in love with another woman and living his life and raising his baby. And B, she thought that she could just move forward with Nathan and, you know, build something with a guy that she truly did care about and knew that cared about her. And a lot of people do that in life. A lot of people make those decisions and are happy or
Right.
have, you know, made some sort of success. But, you know, this is make believe, so it can go the way she wants. And that's why I really appreciate the way it went, because she wasn't like this ending doesn't have to be real life. That she wrote that final episode And she even admits in the wind down, which I appreciate so much because that's why the series, season 5 developed the way it developed. She honestly, in her mind, thought that she was going to have Issa and Nathan together. And then she was like, nope, not right. And so she just made it happen. And it did happen. And so what did we get? We got to see, first of all, we got to see, what's her name? I'm trying to call her Ramona, and that is not her name. What is
Oh,
her
wait, her
name?
her assistant.
You remember her friend from We Got Y'all?
Oh yeah, she made a cameo.
Yes, I love
She
it. The both of them did.
actually they
Um,
had a ton of cameos that last episode.
which was great.
Um, what's it? Frida.
Frida. I'm like, I called her Ramona. I was like, I got it right when I watched the show. But Frida, yeah, I always loved Frida. Um, she got Frida, and then the other chick who I cannot remember what her name was in this show, but she was also in she was in the other show, the web series, the Misadventures of an Awkward Black Girl.
Yes.
Um, I loved her in that. but but she was there, and I just thought that was so, it's just funny because like they're still there and We Got Y'all. They're still there 6, 7 years, later, whatever. Um, and she just went back through all the places that meant something to her, and now she's living in this great place, this great home with Lawrence and her soon to be stepson,
Right.
John. I really appreciate that ending with the, like cutting the cake. And he's like, you want to cut the cake, Ja? And she's like, and he's like, you don't want to cut the cake, Ja? Give him the knife. Lawrence, like, I love that because it's just realistic. So we got our realness there, but let us have our, not necessarily a dream, but let us have this thing where it does end up happily for everybody. Molly got married, something that clearly was not going to happen from episode 1 because the hoe was crazy and she had broken pussy.
Right.
And then we had um um who else? Oh yeah, we have Tiffany living her fake life, okay, with her husband, acting like everything is okay and whatnot, and going through whatever she went through. Not whatever, but they went through a lot. And she did have her baby, and she did have postpartum. The only thing that I felt like wasn't necessarily answered was, the fact that they moved out to Denver. And remember, she said she didn't want to be a real housewife and she felt alone out there. But they
Right.
didn't really revisit. Like we knew she was going to have another baby, which she did. She's pregnant in the scene at the wedding, which is wonderful. So we know that they're going to have more children. But she had exercised some fears earlier about having another baby, and she didn't have her support unit. So they didn't necessarily answer if something else was happening in Denver, but they did make it clear that the girls had the ability to go out and visit her.
Right.
Whereas,
Which is cool.
which is very cool because none of what's his face's friends went to visit him.
Hilarious.
you know?
Speaking of his friends, we have got to appreciate Chad's dialogue because good grief, he's funny.
He's the
Like
best.
he's ignorant but logical in a weird way, and he's funny. Like Neil Brown Jr. is freaking funny. Like I didn't like Kelly is funny.
Yeah.
Natasha, her character
Rockwell.
Kelly is really funny because she says things that are like she's like the ratchet person, but then like really not ratchet at the same
Not
time. So
ratchet.
she just kind of she leans into that and leans out.
Yeah.
Especially the part where she was like, she's gotten pregnant and she's like she's gonna be with this guy. And then she's, they're learning new things. And then she tells Issa something. Issa's like, I really didn't need to ever hear that, like ever in my
Ever.
life.
Ever.
And it's like, wow, like that came out of nowhere. I was blindsided. I nearly choked on whatever I was drinking at the
Yeah.
time. Whereas Chad is always this way. So everything
Always.
is just about to be explosive that he says, but it's in a way that's endearing at times where like he really felt hurt that no one called like shouted him out with the gifts that he brought or
Yeah.
whatever on the previous episode. He was just like, I paid all that money. She ain't gonna shop
Yeah,
and I felt for him
yeah.
because he really was hurt. Like,
And nobody
um,
cares because 'cause they're like, nobody needs a friend like Chad. But
right. It's
Chad,
like Chad.
he is the most honest.
Right.
He
Extremely honest. And he's actually outside of like really bad advice.
Yeah.
um, he was actually a good friend, and then later on had really good advice. Like when he was
Yeah.
talking about Lawrence getting back with Issa, he was like,
Mhm.
do you know how much I had to do to get back with my wife after the
Right.
messed up stuff that I did? Like, you need to do a lot and stop whining. Like, hilarious,
Just like,
hilarious.
wow, wisdom from Chad.
Right.
Wisdom
Like you messed up when you're getting wisdom from Chad.
for
Like
real.
he has a like low key growth like the other characters in a
Yeah.
way, and you kind of just see it like on the surface because he'll just say something and like that was rather smart what you just said. You said it
Yeah.
horribly. You was out like was that meme. He was out of pocket, but he's basically right. Like yeah, that's what that
Yeah.
that's what that
Yeah.
was.
That's what that
Shout out to
was.
him. Hilarious. But yeah, I like that. And granted, it was kind of realistic because there's the idea of like them going back and forth between relationships, dating people, not dating people, and that happens in real life all the
It
time,
does. It
where
does.
you end up with the person that you didn't think you were going to end up with, not because you didn't see yourself with them, but because it just kept falling apart here and there,
Yeah.
and then you end up fixing yourselves, and then it works out.
Yeah.
So it works, and I think that the time jumping for me worked because we
Mhm.
focus on all the important stuff because it could have been
Yep.
a lot of filler. It could
And
have
which I'm
been
glad we didn't have.
right. It could have been a lot of filler, and we just like, nope. We're gonna hit each beat that we need to hit, and to show how they're moving from point A to B,
Mhm.
and it worked very well. It worked very well in terms of storytelling, in terms of closing down or shutting down, the show, because you don't. There's another thing that I listened to the wind down where they were talking about how they didn't want it to be like the plane was landing, like the plane just is continuing just without us,
Yeah.
and it ends that way because we don't see. I mean, we don't. You wouldn't imagine anything happening with Lawrence and Issa, but we
Right.
don't see them get married. You just assume this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
We don't see Molly have children, but we just assume this is potentially going to happen, especially what she
Yeah.
said at the end. So
Yeah.
it's like, oh, this keeps, and so that there's a finite, ending, but not that's not really finite, and it feels good because of that.
Mhm.
These characters
Yeah.
aren't necessarily gone, so I applaud them for that ending because it didn't look like it was going to go there. It didn't. The
Yeah.
way the episodes were going and how they were kind of focusing on like these were important aspects, but at the same
Mhm.
time they could easily derail the conversation like a tangent
Mhm.
of like what these people were doing. That the final season could have ended in a way that was like, no, we didn't get any closure, but that last episode kind of made up like, or at the very least showed that they had everything well in mind with every single beat going up until this point because the way
Mhm.
they closed everything off, even they were foreshadowing even Molly's mother's passing. I thought it was actually going to
Mhm.
be the potentially be the father, but with
Yeah,
them
actually, because
get
it could have been.
right with them doing the wills and
Mhm.
struggling to get them to actually make a will and get their finances in order and all that
Mhm.
stuff. They're foreshadowing, but so when the trauma does hit, it's not as bad
Mhm.
because we know that they took care of everything, and they even
Yeah.
kind of showcase that when you see Molly at her job, she's still mourning for her mom, but then
Mhm.
Kelly comes in, who is now
Mhm.
part of the team.
Which I
Uh,
loved.
you know what I'm saying? And she's doing the whole, the white, the wills and stuff like that for their law firm, and so she gets boosted up. But it shows you that everything is, I don't want to say everything is okay, but everything was handled and in place before tragedy struck, and so they
Mhm.
are okay after tragedy strikes.
Mhm.
Um,
Because they
and
matured enough to do so.
exactly, and get everything together prior to anything happening. And then we also see that when she gets married, the dance with her father and everything, um, and how it's sad, but also happy.
Yeah.
Things are working out, people are taken care of. Um, and it's solid. They had to get some jokes in there though. Kelly's her funk joke, and the dude was like, "Are you proud of that?" That was hilarious. I just
Oh,
felt my
freaking
whole
Kelly.
face fell. Like, good grief. She's
Freaking
like,
Kelly.
you couldn't let me have that? You couldn't?"
No.
And she smacked the drink out of his hand. It was great.
I'm like, her relationship with him has always been like this, and when she smacked that drink out, it just reminded me of high school, like, 'cause we had
Right.
a guy who always smacked drinks out of people's hands, and it was just like, "Yeah, you didn't deserve that drink either." Like,
Yes.
it's just so, yeah, I just felt so happily satisfied. I was honestly really happy to see Kelly join the law firm because, again, there's other themes behind this, but, like, not just, Issa talking about, like, Issa being a Black woman making media and making content, making shows and TV that's featuring Black people and all kinds of stuff. They've talked about that throughout 5 seasons, about
Right.
working in environments that were not conducive to their growth as Black people and in professional, uh, places, and, of course, Kelly mentions again, working for a white man and feeling feeling like she's on a yoke, and
Right.
it's important to know that she gets this job at a firm run by Black people, and that's really important because there's also a lot of fear involved in leaving your job, whether or not your boss treats you a certain way, but there's security, there's what do you call it, what's that stuff, like 401k stock options, all that kind of stuff in those companies, and you have all that there. There's a fear of leaving that behind and going to a company where it's like, majority Black people or Black run. And you may not have those things because you're all, starting from the ground up. So it's kind of heartwarming to see that she joined that firm and is running the estate division. There's no, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
that's Kelly. Like, she made so many ups. Like, she started her podcast, you
Yep.
know? And it was just it's just very nice to see because these are people who were working for other people and struggling in life, and now they're all in a better place.
Much,
Like,
much
it's
better
a
place than they
much, much
were.
better place.
And not
And
just like, financially, but mentally in a better place.
yeah,
And in Issa's case, physically in a better place because she's
yeah.
out of the apartment finally. And she has like, oh my gosh, like it took forever to get out of that. And granted, she moved up, out of the apartment into like the, management. No, she was running the place, but she was
Yeah,
still living in an apartment,
yeah,
and just down the street even. And so the fact that she
and
could
still
drive
had to
by,
plunge toilets.
right, the fact that she could drive by these places, and that's not to knock anyone in who's in this predicament, but it's one of those things where we see that she's finally gotten her things together to where she
Mhm.
can now afford the things that she feel that she should be able to afford, as opposed to just kind of being like, like Molly got it. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
no, like I can do, because I peeped the new car. Like I peeped the
Mhm.
new car that she picked up, and the even like over the course of the season, the new clothes she was able to afford,
Yep.
and it's like wow, like all right, we're moving up, if you will. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was good overall. Solid.
Mhm.
Season finale. Overall, great show.
Mhm.
Even low points weren't as low as as other shows. And
Right.
one of the best things that HBO has put out in a while.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to more, content. The woman who played Kelly, it actually has her own show coming. I don't
Yeah.
know if it's on HBO or not, but I'm looking forward to checking it out regardless.
Mhm.
And I know Molly has been doing, well, not her name's not
Yvonne.
Molly.
Yvonne.
Yeah, Yvonne. You know how black people are. Like, that's
I know.
Molly.
No,
Nah,
that's Molly.
she's been doing her, the stand up thing for a minute, and I believe she's. I'm not sure if she's going to continue just yet, but I haven't heard any rumblings of new things coming. But
Mhm.
my point is to say all that is that some of these people I have come to know of their acting via Insecure,
Mhm.
and it's going to we're going to see more of them because of Insecure. Some people
Mhm.
already were established and were known
Yeah.
prior, but it's similar to like other black shows like the Cosby Show or Martin,
Mhm.
where you have a lot of black actors or comedians even come on,
Mhm.
and they're able to kind of bounce off of that onto other things because this show cared about showcasing black people and black talent.
Mhm.
And so that's another thing to praise Insecure about, not just the music selection or you know
It was fire.
the other stuff that they have going with the plot, but just putting so many people on in a manner that allows them to bounce to something pretty quickly, even. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like you don't go from being on a show to getting your own show like that
Yeah.
rapidly. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So that only spells good things, and so I'm looking for that. I'm also looking forward to. I want to say that HBO signed Issa for something new.
I
And I'm
think they
not
did.
okay because I'm looking forward, and I think it's going to be more produced, and maybe less writing. But I'm also looking forward to whatever that is. So if you haven't checked out Insecure, I know we just spoiled it, but definitely go check out all the seasons. They are currently streaming on HBO Max. Um, but yeah, let us know what you think. If you agreed with our assessment of the show, if you agreed with assessment of the final episode or
Mhm.
not, definitely follow us on them internets, whether it be on Twitter at the Gamecast number one, just one, not don't put number, just one. If you're listening on YouTube at United Front Gaming, go ahead and follow. I'm sorry, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you're up on all the
Mhm.
new content that's coming out. And make sure to add us to your RSS feeds if you're listening via Apple, iTunes, Spotify, Deezer, wherever you listen. Definitely check us out. Also on Verbal. Just note that Verbal, there is a slight delay of, I think, 2 or 3 days. So you might get this after the new year if you're listening on Verbal. But everywhere else, it will it will be there. And if you follow us on Twitter, you will see we'll actually post the episode like we do normally. So you'll get it in time. But beyond that, I hope everyone has a great new year. I go easy on the New Year resolutions. Make sure it's a short term goal. Long term goals don't really work. So definitely do that, and you know, be blessed for the new year.
Yeah, be blessed. Hashtag don't be a dick.
Right,
Hashtag wash your hands, wash
right
your
after, right?
faces. I mean, I just gotta say what I gotta say. That's just the way it is.
Facts.
So do all the things, be a good person, leave all the 2021s behind and just move on up in 2022. And yeah, I said wash your butts, right? Of course.
Yes, yes, definitely
Get
do that.
vaccinated if you can. Please get vaccinated if you can. If you can't, well, whatever. Wear your mask, stay inside, and just be safe this season, y'all.
Yes.
And all we can say is Happy New Year. It's just another day, but it's a Sunday, right? No, it's a Saturday.
Saturday, Saturday.
Cool. It's Saturday. It's just coming around the corner. So we hope you liked if you had fun this year with us.
Yes,
And join us next year and we have more talks and we find out if Mel Medarda's golden things on her back are actually going to save their lives.
I'm looking forward to Arcane season
I'm
two.
just I'm just telling you that. And I don't think it's coming out next year, but I am telling you that that gold thing on her back, it means something. She's not dead.
Plus, she's black, and black don't crack. So, anywho,
That's our show, you guys. Thanks for listening. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks so much. Love you and goodbye.